What happens when a pop superstar walks onto a daytime talk show expecting a light conversation and instead finds herself face to face with a question that hits way too close to home? Make sure to subscribe to the Star Talks and like and comment for more talk show coverage. Whoopi leans back in her chair, half smiling, half studying Miley over the rim of her glasses, the way she does when she's about to steer the conversation somewhere deeper than planned. The audience is still buzzing from the applause that followed Miley's introduction, some people cheering, some whispering, phones already half raised. Whoopi says, all right, settle down, y'all. We're happy she's here. She turns to Miley. You've been busy. New music, new projects, new era, again. Miley laughs, a little breathy, nodding. I like to keep it moving. If I stay still too long, I get bored. Joy jumps in quickly. You've never been afraid of reinvention. I mean, we've seen every version of you. The audience laughs. Miley grins, but her smile tightens just a touch. Well, not every version. Some of them I keep to myself. Whoopi notices that. She tilts her head. That's interesting, because people think they know you. They really think they do. Miley shrugs. Yeah, they think they do. Sarah leans forward. Does that still bother you? Or are you past that now? There's a pause. Not long, but long enough to feel it. Miley looks out at the audience, then back at the table. I think past it is a strong phrase. You just learn how to carry it without dropping it on your foot every day. A few murmurs of agreement ripple through the crowd. Whoopi nods slowly. That's real. That's honest. She folds her hands. But let me ask you something, because this comes up a lot when we talk about artists who grew up in the spotlight. Miley shifts in her chair, crossing and uncrossing her legs. Okay, Whoopi continues, calm but direct. Do you ever feel like people only respect you now because you survived what they put you through? The audience makes that low, oh sound. Joy raises her eyebrows. Sunny glances sideways at Whoopi, surprised. Miley blinks. Once. Then again. Her smile is gone now. She lets out a small laugh, but it doesn't land. That's a big question for 10 a.m. Whoopi doesn't back off. I know, but you're not someone who does small answers. There's a beat. Miley presses her lips together, nodding slowly. You're not wrong. Sunny jumps in gently. You don't have to answer anything you don't want to. Miley turns to Sunny. No, it's okay. I want to make sure I say it right. The room feels quieter now. Even the audience seems to lean in. Miley says, I think for a long time, people didn't want to see me grow. They wanted to see me mess up. And when I didn't mess up the way they expected, they got mad. Joy interrupts. Oh, they loved when you messed up. Miley nods. Yeah, and then they got bored of that too. A few laughs, but they're uneasy. Whoopi watches Miley closely. So when people praise you now, does it feel genuine? Miley inhales sharply. Sometimes. And sometimes it feels like, congratulations, you didn't die. The audience gasps. Someone claps instinctively, then stops. Sunny says softly, wow. Whoopi doesn't flinch. That's what I was asking. Miley's voice steadies as she continues. I'm grateful for the love. I really am. But there's a difference between being celebrated and being forgiven. Joy leans back. Forgiven for what, though? Miley turns to her. Exactly. The audience reacts louder this time, clapping, a few cheers breaking out. Joy holds up her hands. No, I mean it seriously. You didn't commit a crime. You sang, you danced, you grew up. Miley's jaw tightens. Tell that to the headlines. Tell that to the think pieces. Tell that to the adults who made money off me and then acted shocked when I became one. Whoopi lifts her hand slightly, signaling calm, but her eyes stay sharp. That sounds like anger. Miley nods. It is. The honesty lands heavy. Sarah looks between them. Is that anger still there now? Miley exhales. Yeah, but it's quieter. It's more focused. Whoopi leans forward now, elbows on the table. Focused on who? There's a pause. Miley looks directly at Whoopi. On the system. On the way we pretend to protect young women, while we're actually just policing them. The audience breaks into applause. Whoopi lets it happen, then raises her hand again. Here's where I want to push you a little, Whoopi says. Because you're not just talking about them. You're talking about us too. Media. Shows like this. The tension spikes. Sunny straightens up. Joy's smile fades. Miley nods slowly. Yeah, I am. Joy jumps in, defensive but controlled. Hold on. We've also supported you. Miley turns to her. And I appreciate that. Truly. But support after survival isn't the same as support during vulnerability. The audience murmurs again, louder now. Whoopi's voice is calm but firm. So what was your reaction when you realized the tone had changed? When suddenly everyone was on your side? Miley laughs, but this time there's no humor in it. Honestly, I didn't trust it. Sunny asks, why not? Miley answers immediately. Because it felt conditional. Like, we like you now, don't scare us again. Joy shakes her head slightly. I don't think that's fair to say. Miley looks back at her, eyes steady. It's fair to say it's how it felt. The room goes quiet again. Whoopi watches both of them, then looks back to Miley. So what did you do with that feeling? Whoopi asks. Miley's reaction is instant, sharper than before. I stopped asking for permission. A loud wave of applause hits. Some audience members stand. Whoopi lets out a low whistle. Well, Whoopi says, that'll do it. Miley smiles, but there's an edge now, something electric in her posture. Yeah, and that's when things got uncomfortable. Whoopi nods slowly. For who? Miley meets her gaze. Not for me. The applause swells again, and the camera pulls back slightly as the co-hosts exchange looks. Fully aware the conversation has crossed from polite promotion into something far more raw, and there's no turning back now. The applause lingers a little longer than usual, a mix of excitement and nerves, and when it finally dies down, Whoopi raises an eyebrow, half amused, half serious. All right, she says, tapping the table lightly. Now we're in it. Miley lets out a breath, rolling her shoulders back. Yeah, we are. Joy clears her throat. I just want to say something, because I don't want this to turn into us versus you. Miley nods. I don't want that either. Joy leans forward. But sometimes when people talk about the system, it feels very broad. And I think it matters to be specific. Miley tilts her head. Okay, let's be specific. The audience reacts immediately, sensing the shift. Joy continues. You made choices. Bold ones. Some people reacted negatively. Isn't that just consequences? There it is. The word hangs in the air. Miley's eyes narrow slightly, not angry yet, but alert. Consequences for what, though? Joy answers quickly. For pushing boundaries. For shocking people. Miley smiles faintly. Funny how shocking only ever applied to me and not to the men doing the same things. A wave of applause cuts Joy off before she can respond. Whoopi raises her hand again. Hold on. Let her finish. Miley looks out at the crowd, then back at the table. I watched male artists smash hotel rooms, show up drunk, disappear for years, come back and get standing ovations. I cut my hair and suddenly I needed to be punished. Sunny jumps in. That's a fair point. Joy exhales sharply. I'm not saying there isn't a double standard. I'm saying. Miley interrupts, gently but firmly. No, you're saying I should have expected it. The audience murmurs. Joy shakes her head. I'm saying fame isn't fair. Miley nods. Exactly. And neither is how we talk about young women in it. Whoopi watches the exchange closely. So when you say you stopped asking for permission, what did that look like day to day? Miley laughs softly. It looked like disappointing a lot of people. Some laughter ripples through the crowd. It looked like saying no without explaining myself, Miley continues. It looked like not apologizing for being loud or weird or sexual or quiet, depending on the day. Sarah asks, did that cost you relationships? Miley doesn't hesitate. Yeah, the audience quiets again. With people I loved, Miley adds. And with people who only loved the idea of me. Whoopi nods slowly. That's a hard split to make. Miley's voice softens. It is. Especially when you grow up thinking approval equals safety. Sunny leans forward. That's something a lot of people relate to. Joy folds her arms. But let me ask you this. Do you think the audience owes you understanding? Or is it your job to communicate? Miley turns to Joy, calm but unflinching. I think understanding isn't owed. But respect should be the default. A beat. Then applause. Joy presses on. And when you didn't feel respected, your reaction was to shock more. Miley shakes her head. No, my reaction was to be honest. Joy scoffs lightly. Those aren't always the same. Miley's jaw tightens. They are when you've been pretending for survival. The audience gasps softly. Whoopi leans back, absorbing that. Say more about that, Whoopi says. Miley looks at her hands for a moment, then back up. When you're young and famous, you learn very quickly that being palatable keeps you protected. You smile, you nod, you say the right things. And everyone tells you it's for your own good. Sunny murmurs, that's true. Miley continues. But eventually, pretending starts to feel like disappearing. Joy interjects, but you didn't disappear. You became bigger than ever. Miley's reaction is immediate. Because I refused to disappear. The audience breaks into loud applause again, some people cheering openly. Whoopi smiles, but there's seriousness in her eyes. This is where people get uncomfortable. Because you're saying the quiet part out loud. Miley nods. Yeah, and people don't like that. Sarah asks carefully. Do you think that discomfort is why your reaction today is surprising people? Miley raises an eyebrow. What reaction? Sarah gestures vaguely. Your directness. Miley laughs. This is me on a good day. The audience laughs with her, easing the tension for a split second. Joy shakes her head. I don't think you realize how intense this sounds to people watching. Miley turns back to Joy. I think they feel it because they've lived it. Applause again, louder this time. Whoopi cuts in, voice firm but even. Okay, but here's the flip side. You're powerful now. You have a voice, a platform. Does that responsibility change how you react? Miley thinks for a moment. It changes what I react to. Whoopi nods. Explain that. I don't waste energy defending myself anymore, Miley says. I react when I see patterns repeating. When I see younger artists being chewed up the same way. Sunny's eyes widen. You feel protective. Miley nods. Very. Joy leans back. But sometimes it sounds like you're rewriting history. Like everyone was against you. Miley's expression hardens just a little. I don't need everyone to have been against me for it to have hurt. The audience reacts strongly, applause mixed with murmurs of agreement. Whoopi raises her voice slightly to regain control. This is live TV, folks. Let's breathe. Miley smiles briefly at Whoopi, grateful for the pause. Joy sighs. I just worry that framing it this way makes it impossible to have nuance. Miley looks at her. Nuance shouldn't erase accountability. Joy frowns. Whose accountability? Miley answers without hesitation. Ours. Yours. Mine. The industry's. The room goes very still. Whoopi breaks the silence. That's a lot to put on a morning show. Miley chuckles softly. You asked me here. The audience laughs, tension easing again. Whoopi smiles. Fair enough. But let me ask you this, because this is where people really reacted. When you said you didn't trust the praise. Miley nods. That shocked a lot of folks. Whoopi finishes. Miley's eyes flick to the camera. Because people don't like being told their support might be fragile. Joy crosses her arms tighter. Or because it feels ungrateful. Miley meets her gaze. Gratitude doesn't require silence. A sharp intake of breath from the audience. Someone claps once, loudly, then others follow. Whoopi lets the applause roll, then looks straight at Miley. You knew saying all this would cause a reaction. Miley nods. Yeah, and you said it anyway, Whoopi adds. Miley smiles, small but steady. Yeah, the co-hosts exchange looks. The audience is fully locked in now, and the energy in the room has shifted. No longer promotional, no longer polite. Something real is happening, and everyone can feel that whatever comes next is going to push this conversation even further. The applause fades, but the tension doesn't. It just settles into the room, thick and expectant. Whoopi glances toward the audience, then back to the table, sensing they've crossed into territory that doesn't come with easy exits. Okay, Whoopi says slowly. Let's take a breath for a second. Miley nods, but her posture stays upright, alert. Sunny looks at Miley with concern. I want to make sure we're not missing something here. You're talking about pain, but also about power. Those two things don't always sit comfortably together. Miley gives a small smile. They don't. And they shouldn't. Joy jumps in before Sunny can continue. But here's where I struggle. You're framing your reaction as necessary, even inevitable. But some people watching might say, she had everything. Why the anger? The audience murmurs again. Miley doesn't raise her voice. If anything, she lowers it. Because having everything doesn't cancel out being hurt. A beat. Then scattered applause. Whoopi nods. That's something people forget. Joy presses on. But when you react publicly, when you push back the way you are now, it can feel confrontational. Miley tilts her head. To who? Joy hesitates. To the audience. Miley looks out at the crowd. Is it confrontational to tell the truth if it makes you uncomfortable? The audience reacts immediately, clapping, some people nodding vigorously. Whoopi lifts a hand. All right. Let's not turn this into a rally. Miley smiles faintly. I'm not trying to. Sarah asks carefully. Do you think part of the shock today is that people expect you to be softer now? Miley laughs quietly. I get that a lot. Sunny smiles. Because you seem calmer. I am calmer, Miley agrees. But calm doesn't mean compliant. The audience lets out a collective mm. Joy leans forward again. But sometimes your reaction reads like resentment. Miley turns back to her. Resentment is unexpressed anger. I'm expressing it. Whoopi reacts with a low, surprised laugh. That's a line. The audience bursts into applause. Joy sighs. I just think there's a fine line between accountability and accusation. Miley nods. There is. And avoiding the conversation doesn't protect that line. It erases it. Sunny jumps in. Do you feel like today's reaction is being misread? Miley nods slowly. Already. And that's okay. Sarah looks confused. Why is that okay? Miley answers. Because I'm not responsible for people's projections anymore. The audience responds loudly to that, applause rolling through the studio. Whoopi leans forward. That sounds like a shift. It is, Miley says. It came with therapy, boundaries, and a lot of uncomfortable silence. Joy raises an eyebrow. Silence. Miley nods. From people who used to call every day. From voices that only showed up when I was useful. The room goes quiet again. Sunny says softly, that hurts. Miley swallows. Yeah, but it also clarified things. Joy looks unconvinced. But don't you worry about alienating people who supported you? Miley looks straight at her. Support that disappears when you speak isn't support. A loud reaction from the audience, applause, cheers, someone shouts, that's right. Whoopi raises her voice slightly. Okay. We hear you. Miley turns to Whoopi. I'm not trying to scold anyone. I'm explaining my reaction. Whoopi nods. And that reaction shocked people. Miley smiles wryly. Because I didn't package it nicely. Sarah asks, do you think women are expected to soften their reactions to stay likable? Miley answers immediately. Yes. Sunny adds, especially women who were once marketed as wholesome. Miley nods. Especially them. Joy interjects, but likability matters in public life. Miley responds calmly, so does integrity. The audience applauds again. Whoopi chuckles. You're not making this easy for us. Miley laughs. I didn't come to. Joy throws up her hands slightly. See, that's what I mean. That attitude. Miley turns to her, still composed. That attitude is self-respect. The room reacts sharply. Whoopi's eyes widen just a bit. Joy's voice tightens. So anyone who disagrees with you lacks self-respect? Miley shakes her head. No. Anyone who asks me to shrink does. A heavy silence follows that. Whoopi breaks it. This is where people at home are either standing up or turning off the TV. Miley looks into the camera. Either way, they're choosing. Sunny nods. That's powerful. Joy exhales loudly. I think you underestimate how polarizing this is. Miley shrugs slightly. Growth usually is. Whoopi leans back, studying Miley. You're very sure of yourself right now. Miley smiles, softer now. I'm sure of my boundaries. Sarah asks, did you rehearse any of this? Miley laughs genuinely this time. No, I rehearsed not apologizing. The audience erupts again, laughter mixed with applause. Whoopi points at her. That line is going to live online. Miley smirks. I know. Joy looks away briefly, then back. So what happens when people push back harder? When they say you're bitter, ungrateful, difficult? Miley answers without missing a beat. Then I let them. The audience reacts loudly. Sunny smiles. That's a big reaction. Miley nods. It's the one that kept me sane. Whoopi taps the table. We're almost out of time, but I need to ask this. The room quiets again. Do you think this conversation would be different if you were a man? Whoopi asks. Miley doesn't hesitate. Yes. Joy scoffs lightly. How can you be so sure? Miley looks at her. Because I've watched men be praised for half this honesty. The audience applauds again. Whoopi nods slowly. All right. The co-hosts exchange looks. The atmosphere is charged now, not hostile but exposed. The kind of moment that people clip, argue over, and replay. Whoopi turns back to Miley. When you walk off this stage today, what do you expect to happen? Miley thinks for a moment, then smiles faintly. A lot of opinions. Whoopi smiles back. And how do you feel about that? Miley's reaction is calm, grounded, and firm. I'll be okay. The audience applauds, but this time it's different. Less explosive, more thoughtful. Everyone senses the conversation is approaching something final, something that will define how this moment is remembered once the cameras stop rolling. The applause continues as the camera slowly widens, but there's a different energy now. Less adrenaline, more reflection. Whoopi lets it breathe before speaking again. Whoopi says, voice measured, "This is one of those conversations people don't realize they're craving until it's happening." Miley nods, her shoulders finally relaxing a bit. "Yeah, I feel that." Joy adjusts in her seat, clearly choosing her words carefully now. "I want to say this, because I don't want anyone misunderstanding me. I don't think you're wrong for how you feel." Miley looks at her. "Okay," Joy continues. "I just think sometimes delivery matters as much as message." Miley considers that. "I agree." She pauses. "But I also think tone policing is often how hard truths get delayed." The audience reacts again, softer applause, nods, murmurs. Sunny smiles slightly. "That might be the most honest way to put it." Whoopi looks at Joy, then back at Miley. "Do you feel heard right now?" Miley doesn't answer immediately. She scans the table, then the audience. "I feel seen. And that's different." Sarah asks, "Different how?" "Being heard is about sound," Miley says. "Being seen is about intention." The room goes quiet again. Whoopi nods slowly. "That's a distinction a lot of people don't make." Joy exhales. "I still think people at home are going to be split." Miley smiles gently. "They already were." That earns a ripple of laughter. Whoopi checks the clock off camera. "We're wrapping up, but before we do," she looks directly at Miley, "what do you want people to take away from this moment? Not the headlines. Not the clips." Miley straightens, thoughtful. "I want people to know that reactions don't come out of nowhere. They come from patterns. And if someone's reaction shocks you, maybe ask why before judging how." The audience applauds, sustained and sincere. Whoopi nods. "That's fair." Joy adds, quieter now. "I may not agree with everything you said, but I respect that you said it honestly." Miley meets her gaze. "I appreciate you saying that." There's a brief, real pause between them. Not resolved, but acknowledged. Whoopi smiles slightly. "That's about as real as daytime TV gets." The audience laughs. As the segment closes, Whoopi turns to the camera. "Miley Cyrus, everybody." The applause swells again as Miley gives a small wave, standing briefly to hug Sunny and Sarah, then sharing a quick, polite embrace with Joy. Whoopi squeezes her hand. The cameras fade out on stage, but the moment doesn't end there. Within minutes of the broadcast ending, producers backstage are already glued to their phones. Clips of Miley's lines are spreading fast. Gratitude doesn't require silence. Calm doesn't mean compliant. I rehearsed not apologizing. In the green room, Miley scrolls quietly, expression unreadable. Her publicist glances over. "It's blowing up." Miley nods. "I figured." Online, the reaction is immediate and intense. Supporters praise her honesty, calling it overdue, calling it brave. Hashtags trend within the hour. Clips rack up millions of views. Young artists repost her words with captions like, "Needed this," and "She said what we're all scared to." At the same time, criticism rolls in just as fast. Some call her confrontational. Others say she was disrespectful. Opinion panels argue over her tone. Headlines frame it as a clash. Some praise Whoopi for pushing. Others accuse the hosts of being defensive. By the afternoon, the segment is one of the most watched clips of the week. Back on the show the next day, the hosts address it. Whoopi looks into the camera and says, "Yesterday sparked a lot of conversation." That's not a bad thing. Joy adds carefully, "People can disagree and still listen." Sunny nods. "And sometimes discomfort means something important is being said." Miley doesn't issue a long statement. She posts one sentence on her social media later that night. "I said what I meant, and I meant it calmly." The post explodes. Fans dissect every second of the exchange. Media outlets debate who was right. Think pieces pile up. But for many viewers, especially those who saw themselves in Miley's reaction, the moment lands deeper than debate. It becomes a reference point, a clip people send to each other with no explanation needed. And that's how the moment lives on, not as a scandal, but as a conversation that refused to stay polite, refused to stay small, and refused to disappear once the cameras stopped rolling. Now it's your turn. What do you think about Miley Cyrus's reaction on The View? Was she right to speak that openly, or did it go too far? Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to the Star Talks for more real talk show stories.